In today's video, I'm going to be doing an update on all the things that have been going on in Ian's fish room. So we have a number of things that we're going to go through. We're going to look at all the tanks and give you an update on them because it's been over a year since the last time we looked at all of the tanks. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to give you a little bit of information about some upcoming videos that we're going to be having this year. Before I do that, I want to talk about the fact that I haven't put out a lot of videos lately. And the reason that is because at Ian's fish room, the entire family got hit with COVID. And so I was out sick for a while. Then my wife was sick and my son was sick. And then as soon as we started feeling better, we went out to Michigan for the holidays to spend with my wife's family. And while we were out there, my dad actually ended up in the hospital himself with COVID. So we've had a lot going on between the holidays and just some sicknesses around. But now we're back. Everybody's doing better. Everybody's getting healthy. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the tanks here at Ian's Fish Room. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the future projects we have coming up.
The first tank we're going to take a look at is one of our main breeding tanks. You can see in this tank we have a ton of guppies. And this is actually just after I pulled out 50 to take to the fish store today. And so there's guppies in here. We also grow a lot of different plants in here, including the guppy grass that you see right there that we end up often selling. We also have some cherry shrimp in here. We have another tank that's got even more cherry shrimp, but you can see the cherry shrimp in there. And there's also a couple plecas. You can see one there on top of that piece of wood. And if you look around, you can see there's pretty much some type of live fish, crustacean, everywhere you look in this tank. And really, this tank is one that we really do have to do a lot of work keeping up on the water parameters, changing a lot of water because it can get out of hand quickly. But the fish do stay healthy because we do the water changes that we need. And I think there really does have some absolutely gorgeous guppies coming out of this tank. Let's go for a little dive under the water here. Here's another guppy tank that we have, this 20 long, and you can see it is full of this Java moss, which the shrimp really go crazy. In this tank, I'm sure I have several hundred shrimp in just this tank alone. But also makes a nice hiding spot for some of the smaller guppies until they get a little bit bigger and can handle being out with the big ones. But I do have some really massive females in here. And you'll see some of these females, if you look a little bit closer, you might see some of them actually have a little bit of a bent spine to them. And there's nothing wrong with these ones in particular. It's just this does happen with females who start getting older. And these females I keep in here, they've been really good breeders for me. And so I've kept them around for a long time. And so they are starting to get a little bit older. And so you do see a little bit of that bend to their back. The younger ones you'll see, you know, they'll have a little bit of a straighter spine. So there's nothing to be worried about as far as when you see that in an older fish. It's just naturally what happens to them. But in the younger fish, you don't want to see as much of a bend there. We'll go ahead and take a quick dive into this tank as well. So here's a 75-gallon tank that I was able to actually pick up for free off of Facebook Marketplace. And this is the newest addition to our tanks here in Ian's fish room. And this one is actually in Ian's bedroom. So you can see there's only a few plants in here right now. We'll be adding more here in the near future. And there's a few fish and shrimp in here. You can see one of the Amano shrimp back there, and you can see one of our dwarf pygmy cories. That might be about all we see from the dwarf pygmy cories. There's actually 7 of them in here, but they are hard to find in a 75-gallon. Dwarf pygmy cories are one of the smallest cory cats you can get out there, but I really do enjoy watching them swim. They much they actually tend to swim more in the middle of the water column compared to a lot of the other Cory catfish. And so I just think they are a really cool fish. Now we're going to take a little bit of a closer look here at this valsinaria. So if you look closely at it, you can see the leaves are two different colors, and that lighter green leaf is some new growth that we're seeing here. The other thing you can tell is that we're getting some new growth is you actually can see down there at the bottom, the plants are starting to throw out just a few runners, which means they're starting to propagate and produce new plants. We also have just a couple other things in here. We've got this Amazon sword. This was in the tank I had before, and it was not doing well because the plecos were loving eating it, so we moved it over here. And then, oh, here's one of my cherry shrimp you can see. And I didn't actually intend to put cherry shrimp in here, but they came in on my sponge filters. If you've seen my best filter for a sponge or for a shrimp tank, you know I really love the aquarium co-op sponge filters because the shrimp can get into that. And sure enough, I had some shrimp get into those sponge filters. And when I brought them over here just to get this tank going, they came along with it. And we'll see if it turns into a colony or not. I'm not really sure. And I don't really care whether they do or not. So this tank is just a 10-gallon that I'm using as a grow out tank for some bozemanii rainbow fish that I got from Gary Lang at this last year's Keystone Clash. These are going to be an absolutely beautiful fish. I know they don't look like much right now, but it is something that's going to turn into an absolutely beautiful fish. And you can see, if this will focus in, that I did get them from Gary Lang. They came as a group of 50 eggs, and I hatched out some of the eggs. I didn't get as good of a result from the eggs as I was hoping I would, but here they are, and they're starting to grow out, and they'll be going into that 75 gallons soon. Now here's the tank that it does not have anything really going on. All you see is some subwasser tank sitting in there. This is a tank I'm going to be breaking down here very shortly and doing a little special project with. This is one of my absolute favorite tanks. I really love this Algaescape tank. I've just let the algae go crazy in here, and it's worked really well for breeding some fish. So this is another tank. I actually have some bozemanii. These are a different strain of bozemanii rainbow. And you can see there's a lot of size difference between some of the fish here, and I'm going to need to separate them soon. What happens a lot of times when you get some fry and you're starting to raise them up, there's going to be ones who are going to be quicker. They're going to get the food faster, and as they get better and quicker at getting food, they're just going to continue to improve at that skill, and they're really going to start taking off. And you're starting to see that here, and that's why we have such a big difference in the size between some of the fries. So these will be getting separated into two different groups here shortly, but absolutely love the Algaescape. This is a tank that, unfortunately, I am going to be breaking this one down pretty soon. Not because I don't love it, but because I'm going to go into a bigger tank. And this is why I actually started the video. I was in the process of tearing down this tank. And this was the Dragonstone tank that I did. If you didn't watch that video, you can check it out here. I'll leave a link here. I really did like the way this came out, but it just, you know, it was not one that I was going to maintain, and so I decided I was going to break it down, and I'm in the process of breaking it down, just holding some plants now. Here's my 75 gallon. This is my main show tank, and I'll be honest, right now it is a disaster. Like I said, I've been struggling with COVID, and my whole family was, and so we were sick, and so just the maintenance of the fish tanks did not get kept up with. I still did my water changes, but didn't do the trimming of the plants the way I needed to. So this tank is way overgrown. Now, I will say, I do really think it's kind of neat to be able to look in a tank like this and spend lots of time looking for fish and specific fish. And the tank is so overgrown, it is really hard sometimes to find some fish. And there are a ton of them in here. So as you can see, though, this Pogostem Sloss octopus is the plant that is really taking up most of the tank. And it has just grown everywhere through the other plants. And it's just kind of taking over the tank. So I'm actually going to be pulling this plant out completely soon. I think at this point, the other plants have grown enough that I don't really need to keep this plant anymore. I like to have fast growing plants before some of the slower growing plants really grow. But once the slower growing plants have grown quite a bit, I don't really like keeping that fast growing plant because it just means a lot of maintenance. But as you can see, I still have my bozemanii rainbow fish, in this tank. These are the ones that I bred from. I've got some fork tails in here. There's zebra danios. There are some plecos. There's a lot of different things in here. And I think it is neat because I can't even find some of my fish in here. I've been looking all day for my carbensis in here, and I'm sure they're here, but I can't find them. And I don't know if they've dug themselves a new cave, or maybe they're hiding with some new fry. It's hard to say. I'm sure I'll see them here shortly, but there are some carbensis in here that are really good at hiding, and my guess is they might even be somewhere in here with all this Anubias, but who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. Here is my office aquarium, and I absolutely love this tank. It is completely filled with plants. I've got some ember tetras in here and some chili rasbora and one autosynclus that does a good job keeping the algae down and cleaning up for me. And obviously there's a few ram's horn snails because they get in everything. But I really do enjoy this tank. If you missed the setup for this tank, make sure you check out that video. It's one I think you guys will really enjoy. But you can check that out here.
So as you guys can see, we definitely have some healthy, thriving fish. We've got a lot of things going on here. And we're going to be making some more changes and updating some tanks, updating some stands, changing tanks around. And so stay tuned for those things. We also have a number of product reviews we're planning on doing in the coming future. Some more DIY videos, as well as always, we're continuing to help you guys learn. And we're going to do more plant videos, more videos about, water quality and things. And so make sure you stay tuned, and make sure if you haven't already subscribed, you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.